So Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were absolute hits for Zelda, that they completely changed the formula and did something that was totally new for the series, and fans loved it. And so ever since Tears of the Kingdom, people have been wondering, okay, like, where is the series going to go from here? And there's been a debate ever since that first Breath of the Wild game of, can they keep making games like this, or are they going to go back? You've got fans who are hardcore fans of the original games and would love to see a more traditional Zelda game, but now you've got all these new fans who are used to this kind of gameplay, and you've kind of really changed Zelda. And so we've actually got some news around what the next game in the Zelda series will be. And so I wanted to dive into it with you guys and try to sort out what this all means. But I think what we can confidently say is that whatever the next Zelda game is, it's going to change everything. So recently, the producer for the Zelda series has been going around and doing a bunch of different interviews where some things have been revealed ever since the ending of Tears of the Kingdom. And one of the main primary things that he has been saying is essentially that Tears of the Kingdom isn't going to get a sequel. And so here's a direct quote from him where he says, well, when somebody was asking about the sequel. And so here's what he says. He says, well, that would be a sequel to a sequel, which is getting a little weird and a bit wild when you think about it. So that's the quote. And essentially, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I mean, not shocking. It sounds like the Zelda team is not interested in doing another sequel to Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild, that they're kind of done with it. And then he goes on to say that essentially that they've kind of maxed out their vision for that world, and so they don't really have anything he feels like adding. And so this got a lot of fans freaking out, because a lot of people like the formula of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, myself included. I really do love it, but it sounds like Nintendo and Zelda are just not interested in making another sequel, which makes sense. They've never done this outside of Majora's Mask, and even Majora's Mask wasn't a direct sequel. Like, it was very different than Ocarina of Time, and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were very similar. So much so that people have the complaint like, oh, it's just like $80 DLC, which is nonsense. It's a completely new game. There's 2 massive new maps. Like, that complaint always kind of drives me nuts. Like, I understand what they mean. They just basically took the same game, give you a sequel, but that's almost every sequel to every game. So I don't fully understand that critique, but it sounds like, yeah, like the Legend of Zelda team are just not interested in doing that. And so I think there's a couple different ways you could interpret this. So the first way, and the way that I think is most likely, is that they're just not doing a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. That they will probably keep this style of gameplay and this style of game that they've set up, but do something completely different. That if you look at all the Zelda games throughout the years, every single one of them do something radically different than before. They all have a basic formula, but then shake the formula up that it always feels like a completely new experience. And if I had to put my money on something, I would guess that that's what's going to happen here. That it will be a completely different story with a completely different Link and Zelda, but with similar gameplay elements. And so you'll have another open world in a different place that's probably, in my opinion, going to be very highly populated. That it will be coming out on the Switch 2, whatever that is, which is more powerful hardware. And I honestly imagine them creating a... Like, you remember when you first played Ocarina of Time and how full that world felt? And now going back, it's obviously not as full as your memory, but just that feeling of like, wow, this is a whole world with all kinds of characters and all these crazy things I can do. I imagine we'll get a game like that, where there's way more characters, there's way more NPCs, it's way more interactive, and there's way more stuff going on, and it'll give you that Ocarina of Time feeling of, wow, this world is really full, but it'll be a completely different world than the one we've received. I'd imagine, too, that the Kingdom of Hyrule will be actually just set up in this game, and then maybe you'll watch it like an Ocarina of Time kind of a fall, because I imagine they're just going to move away from it being like Tears of the Kingdom, and Link will have different abilities and different things, and they'll probably introduce some weird thing like now you turn into a cat or something. But I imagine they'll just take the gameplay and the ideas from this Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom game, and they'll take that basic concept and they'll just shake it up a bunch for the fans, just like how they took the Ocarina of Time concept and shook it up in every single game up until Breath of the Wild. I imagine that's what they're going to do here. I don't know for sure, but if I had to put my money on something, that would be what I would put it on, is that they're going to make a sequel-ish, but it's not going to be a sequel to these games. The gameplay will be similar, but it'll be completely different and completely new at the same time. But there is a second option, and an option that a lot of fans would be pumped about, and an option that totally is possible. And they could just go back. Like, they could actually genuinely just make a more traditional Zelda game again, an Ocarina style type of game. There have been rumors for a long time that even the next game is going to be a remaster of Ocarina of Time. That's totally possible. I would be pumped to see a reimagined Ocarina of Time on the Switch 2. Even if they just updated the 3DS Ocarina of Time, I would buy that. I would be so pumped for that. I still am holding out hope that we're going to get the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD finally released on the Switch so that all the Zelda games are available on one platform, but we'll see if that happens or not. But I think it's highly possible they could just go back. And a lot of people are interpreting this as that this is the Zelda team saying, hey, like we did Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom, and now we're going to go back to a more traditional Zelda game. And we're going to give you guys that traditional experience that a lot of those fans who like dungeons and like the way Zelda used to be, we want to give them a little something and give them a game that is on new hardware, that we can do a Legend of Zelda game like it's never been done before and give you a completely new experience that's so expansive and so immersive and is still more traditional than Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were. That's totally possible. I would be surprised if they go back, because it kind of feels like, how can you go back? Because the gameplay is so much fun and works so well, like the new formula that they created with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that I would be shocked if they were to be like, let's completely just go back to what we kind of used to be and give them a whole new experience, but with that kind of gameplay. I think it's more likely that they're going to take the gameplay and the ideas from Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and then they will just shake it up a bunch and give us something completely new with a different Link and a different Zelda in a different world. That's what I think, but it is possible that they could just redo what they used to do, and that would be shocking to me. But I don't know. I think it's more likely that they do a similar game in a similar style, but they just give you a bunch of different abilities in a different world and really show off the power of the Switch 2. And I think that'll be one of the primary focuses of the next Zelda game, is let's show off what the Switch 2 can do. So I guess we'll see. But with that being said, I want to know what you guys think. So head down to the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts. How do you interpret what the Zelda producer is saying here? Do you think that he means that they're going to do kind of what they did for Zelda after Ocarina of Time, where they're going to take the gameplay elements from these games and then just shake them up in a new way and give users a completely new experience? Or do you think that they're going to go back in time and kind of do a more Ocarina of Time kind of style game? Or do you think they're going to do something completely different that's none of those options? That's actually totally possible. Do you think that we're going to get an Ocarina of Time remaster? I would love it. And do you think we're ever going to get the Wind Waker Twilight Princess HD collection on Switch? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that junk, and I will see you guys in the next one.